Thank you. Can you hear me? Yeah? Okay, perfect. Again, what's your name in the back there? What's your name? Frank? It's a fantastic question. I think it's easy when you're working with digital twins or any kind of technology that you get sort of, I wouldn't say starstruck, but you think that everyone knows exactly what you're talking about. So let's see if this works here. There we are. So I'm working with Winio. We help companies make smart decisions through the Metaverse. It's again like his buzzword being number one. We also use, of course, any kind of technology, any kind of approach. Where my background is in innovation and strategy. Two ambitions, the last 20 years, focusing on solving all the problems in the world and creating a company or being part of a company that operates in all countries in the world, right? Just pretty small. That has been my ambition. So I've been, relentless in the pursuit of understanding, what goes on in multiple industries. Fell into the smart building side about 6-7 years ago. That's where I was with Tyson. So if you want to know anything about building automation, he's the building automation, bodybuilder for sure. He knows everything. I started my own podcast to learn about, from the leaders like Tyson and many others, to figure out what is going on. What we talked about, before, there was a question, where is, smart buildings? Where are we in the real estate space? And I, quickly understood that maybe we can do things smarter, or maybe someone else is doing things smarter in healthcare, Industry 4.0, or, self-driving buildings, or self-driving, cars, whatever that might be. So I've been, again, focusing a lot in understanding all this kind of stuff. Working with digital twins now for the last 4 years. I got into it with, speaking at a BIM conference, which is BIM, for those who you don't know what it is. It's when you construct a building, you have 3D models with information about that building, about it, right? They use it sometimes in the construction phase, and then what they do with that, all that amazing piece of information, they throw it in the garbage can, right? So the data doesn't survive through the entire life cycle. And that's just a big, big, big waste. We talked about it during lunch. So I've been, again, I'm advising a lot of different companies, have my own consultancy company, and working, right now with global digital twins across multiple industries, in healthcare, in basically whatever. This is what I've already said, but for me, even though I talk a lot about the metaverse and digital twins, it's not so much about technology. What are the problems that we need to solve? What are the jobs to be done? And instead of using technology and tools that got us here in the first place, why don't we use the most modern tools to solve old problems, right? And for me, I think, I'm a little bit surprised that not more people think about this. Whenever there's a new, buzzword, like digital twins or the metaverse or virtual reality or augmented reality, it's like, this is not for us, this is scary, or we're gonna wait and see what happens. But for those of you, or let's say like this, does anyone know about the hype cycle from Gartner? Raise your hands. So that is, Gartner is an industry, research organization. They, promote all the cool stuff that is gonna happen over the next 10 years or 20 years. That's when it goes mainstream. 95% or 90% or most of it is actually, doable today. So some companies are doing it, but most wait until it reaches a plateau of enlightenment. So what I'm going to talk about is, the ones, been in the previous session, heard a lot about it. For me, I think, the scalability is here. It is real. We need to get it done, obviously, but it's definitely here. There are industry standards that definitely work. The problem is, of course, that the industry standards are separated in different slices of reality. If you look at whatever industry, we've actually solved it, right? We have a lot of different programs, we have a lot of different tools, but we also have a lot of different people that work in separate realities. And if someone's going to, share information both from a system to system, that's a problem, or it's a challenge, because they don't understand each other. And if someone is going to share something from a person to another person, that's always a challenge, because usually you don't have the reality that they're working with. Let's say you're a truck or a car or a building, you don't use the visual representation of that building, you use dashboards or some, alarms or whatever that is, that no one else except or outside that domain can understand. So digital twins for me is, well, the mission, of course, in everything that I do is to create Earth-first strategies. And again, like Metaverse coming into this session, I know Palle here, we talked a little about, in the morning, we talked about digital twins. He was a little bit interested. Suddenly, when I mentioned the Metaverse, his whole posture dropped. Not interested anymore. A little, sort of, right, Palle? A little bit. So, I mean, raise of hands. Who here is skeptical to the Metaverse right now? Sorry? Exactly. So that's what we're coming to. The talk is not about what is effective or like how important it is for real estate, but it's how effective it is to change or improve the reality that we have. But we're definitely going to come to that. So everyone that raised their hand, I definitely agree. I wouldn't say hate, but I dislike, or I think like the Metaverse, the way that it's being used today, could be put to better use. Because if you want to strip it down, is that the Metaverse is a collaboration, the ability to collaborate across something in 3D, either cartoonish or using Unity or Unreal Engine. It can actually be depicting reality as we know it. So with that said, the Metaverse, we can use that to collaborate on something that exists in reality. Without the digital twin, it's just going to be a 3D model that is conceptual. However, what we talked about in the previous session is that the digital twin is a real-time version of something that exists in reality. So if you combine those two things, again, like if we would have sensors here or cameras, and we have this in the Metaverse, then people can ask questions from all over the world, right? And they can collaborate on this. If you had like Tyson with Clockworks has 2,500 buildings worldwide. If they would have their own Metaverse of their entire building portfolio with 3D representation of those buildings, they can actually collaborate with customers around those representations, whether it's a smart city, buildings in real time, with the ability to create something in the Metaverse and then deploy it in reality and vice versa. So it's just a combination of using these tools, where the biggest open secret that exists today is that we're not tying it to reality. We're just using metaverses to escape reality. And again, all these virtual land grabs are just used to do something in the fictional realm. So this is just a small sample of something that we did in Sweden for one small school, where we took again, we implemented IoT sensors in a couple of days, got real-time data from the actual school. We baked that in with Unreal Engine in this case, and we gave the customer a dashboard so they can change stuff in their building. So they have the ability to change whatever they want, to interact with the building, even when they're not there. And this might seem gimmicky, but if you look at almost all the other programs and solutions that exist today in the real estate space, it's not made for everyone. You need to have some domain expertise. This, when we showed this to the kids, to the teachers, to the principals, they understand this. They understand smart heating systems. They can go here. They can also select, look behind the walls, and to see sort of like the heating, ventilation, air conditioning. They can focus in on the plumbing system, the radiators, whatever that might be. And we actually turned this into a video game as well. So we can be multiple players in here and we engage with this and talk to the customers in their asset. So that's again just a miniature version of metaverse capabilities, where you bring in the reality into this collaboration platform and you use that real-time data. So they can actually change stuff from the metaverse, they can figure out stuff, and they can run simulations, understanding what will happen beforehand. I don't know how much time I have, to be honest. 10 minutes? Okay. So questions about the metaverse is usually escape from reality, mechanisms to improve reality, and what technologies could be used or are being used to actually achieve something that would improve reality. And for me, any kind of technology that that is possible, whether it's artificial intelligence, blockchain, NFTs, We need to understand how to utilize them, what they do, and then leverage them in the right order. So if you see here are some, definitions how the metaverse is being used. The first one is just a fictional space to do something with blockchain or crypto. It's a skyscraper where you can go in, you can play with others and buy crypto, win a Lamborghini, whatever. Really good. The founders cashed out $200 million each in 6 months, right? Does this lead to any real value in the real world? Not necessarily. But if that would be a real skyscraper like the Chrysler building that we just saw, and you can collaborate around something and make decisions much, much faster, then it has the potential. And it's different things. Maybe it's hard to see here because of low fidelity, but it adds to, again, the different buckets or benefits that we see: experience, discovery, a lot of different things. But again, like if you look at the metaverse place that exists today, a lot of them are cartoonish. But we can use the same technologies you can see here to create an insane level of fidelity. And this is right now. So instead, if you look at a dashboard compared to actually visualizing something the way that the reality behaves, I would choose something like this. And again, we can see here for architecture that it's being used for airports. A lot of the construction companies, a lot of the architects are starting to use it. The difference is that that's usually in a separate world. So if you look at the benefits or the potential of utilizing game environment technology that has been in a separate stream, you're using real reality stuff here. When they converge, that creates extreme potential of using gamifying reality, gamification mechanics to basically do the same thing that we're doing, but in a virtual world without having silo dashboards and all this kind of stuff that prevents us from giving a feedback loop instantaneously between people. So I'm just going to speed through this a little bit because I think one of the things that was mentioned was the different metaverses. Because again, which is the problem, are we going to repeat the problems that we have in the industry today with standards, lack of interoperability, or how will that work? And this will become a problem even in the future. So you have different interoperability dimensions here. So you maybe have one metaverse perspective from, let's say, Siemens, Schneider, any classic vendor. Maybe they create their own metaverse with their own standards. So then it becomes like a lock-in effect as well. So we'll have to look at the interoperability challenges that exist in the real world when also coming to these perspective. We're not there yet, definitely. But again, this is something that we really, really need to address, which is just, talking about what we said in the previous discussion. So if you look at what it is, what a metaverse, play is, or combined with digital twin, what are the benefits? It's the possibility to create something in the either start in the metaverse. You can bring up a 3D model when in building. You can invite the architects. You can invite the IoT people. You can basically invite anyone. This is sort of done in the BIM collaboration space, but without an intent for the whole life cycle. So you can bring in the users and actually collaborate on a shared reality. Like I told Tyson in the lunch session, is that I'm working with companies right now that can create a building, that has 80%, fidelity, structural integrity, up to 80% in 10 minutes, which is an Unreal. And if you make a change in Revit, it's also going to make the same change in Unreal Engine. So we can automate this stuff. We can make it scalable. The standards exist, but it's scattered across silos. And that is definitely the benefits of being part of the Digital Twin Consortium, that we can interact with people that build airplanes, that work in healthcare, that can go through 50 million health records in split seconds with knowledge graphs that Claire Penny was talking about. So the tools exist, but it's spread out across not just in one industry, but fragmented across multiple industries. But we understand the most modern tools, if we layer them in the right order with digital twins and metaverse, that allows us to collaborate across any space and time, basically allow us to teleport into a factory in Sydney. If they've scanned it, made it with real-time data, I can go in tomorrow, see what needs to be done, invite others, to work on that building in the right order. So this is one of the companies that I'm working with. They have a really interesting approach where they come from the wireless planning space in the US. So just a short history lesson is that when you go back in time, 2G didn't need that much information. And this is, not square meters, it's cubic meters of information, what goes on in a context. 3G needed more, where the interference was with trees, with buildings, whatever that might be. 4G, even more, 5G, even more, 6G, which we said before, needs a lot of understanding in real time of very, very granular aspects. So this company been doing wireless planning, and so they had the need from the industry to actually create digital twins on demand. So what they could do is take any map, anywhere in the world, working with the leading map companies in the world, taking that, building up 3D environments on demand, anywhere in the world again, packaging that with GIS data, BIM data, real-time data, so bringing up a 3D model tied to real-time data anywhere in the world, which is basically a digital twin. What they also could do, which you could see here, is that they can visualize that in augmented reality. And why that is important is that could be, these are radio interference waves. You can basically stand on top of a city here in Barcelona, or if you're on the street, look up into the sky, and you can see where the network connectivity is good. You can see, okay, let's go over here because it's green, here it's spotty, but that could mean that any data could be visualized any part of the world. It could be pollution data, it could be basically anything. So if you want to build a new building, let's say, anywhere, start with where it is, scan that in, or just create a 3D model of it, invite people to innovate. Maybe take this company that I'm working with, build 80% of that finished building in 10 minutes, then involve the plumbers, the technicians to make everything ready first virtually. When everyone then agrees, okay, this is what we're going to have, or this is what it's going to look like, that's when you start building it, right? You don't start the way that we're doing today, that we start without the necessary information and then, keep on this broken cycle of fragmented information. So this is possible today. So that's why I think the scalability issues, I agree to some extent, but in terms of creating value at every step, the first day, the first 5 minutes, the next day, that is definitely possible if we use the right, modern tools in the right order with the right people. So virtual first everything. So there's, a couple of things that I want you to, remember, because there's been a lot of information. Digital twins are not only for systems. They have to be able to transfer knowledge or to teach people of any domain and any age. Otherwise, for me at least, it's not really a digital twin. And they need to be able to cater to artificial intelligence, to AI. They have to be able to do that. And in order to do that, it has to be structured data, tag data, standards, ontologies, taxonomies. You have to have that richness as well. And also what will happen very soon, just 2 minutes left, is that the glasses that I'm using right now are just, boring analog glasses. They will be smart glasses. We see that with HoloLens, we see that with Varjo. So the way that we're going to interact with our surrounding will be through these. It's not going to be looking down at the phone like Matthew had said, things said in the morning. It will be much, much more seamless. We're going to create more dialogue engines. So if we know that will happen in the next 2 to 5 years, because it will happen, I'm working with those companies, then how we design solutions that are future-proof enough to do that. And that's where we get, if we bring it back to reality, you need to have a 3D model and have an idea what this data strategy looks like. And that's basically it. So again, combining digital twins and the metaverse allows for collaboration anywhere in the world with something that is placed in reality, also anywhere in the world, instantaneously. And that allows you to teleport in, and even what I said before, to time travel. You get an understanding what it is right now, and then to ask the digital twin questions. So that's the last 20 seconds, if I'm allowed, is the benefits of utilizing these kind of digital twins is when this company that does wireless planning, they just build up the context of where the trees are, where all the real-time data is, where the mountains are, and then they ask the digital twin, where should we place our cell towers? What is the best way to place our cell towers to reach 100% connectivity? So that's when you get the tools and the digital twin to work for you and not the other way around. So I think the collaboration between people, systems, AI that's again, how we're going to do it. And I'm working with this in a lot of different industries. So thank you so much. And yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out, of course.